And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. You know, John uses some amazing words to speak about this Christmas event. In Greek, the word for flesh is sarx. Isn't that a great word? Sarx, as my preaching prophet seminary used to say. It literally means hamburger. It does. It's chopped meat. It's the meat that you would eat in a stew, or in shepherd's pie, or in chili con carne, which is the Latin word for sarx, meat. In fact, John is so insistent in this image that he would be bold enough to say that Luke's birth scene, remember we heard it last night, placing the baby Jesus in a what? In a manger, was no simple convenience. A manger was a feed trough for goats and sheep. And this baby would become food, sarx, for the salvation of our souls. But the telling words that meet us on this Christmas morning are these familiar words from John as well. And he dwelt among us. Literally, when you translate that word, it actually says, and God pitched a tent among us. Now, there's lots of uses for tents, aren't there? There are those big white fancy tents, you know, for meetings and wedding receptions when it doesn't rain and stuff like that, you know. But those big white tents, that's not what John meant. And then there are the tents that we take when we use to go camping. Maybe it's up on Mount Lemmon or near a California beach. But that's not the kind of tent that John meant either. And then there are those tents that are not permanent housing. See, tents are temporary structures for those who do not have a home. Tents are the places where refugees live, not unlike the refugee camps in Somalia today. When God chose to come to earth, born to a couple who were dirt poor, God came homeless. He did not come to wander the world endlessly or aimlessly wandering. No, the homeless God came with a message of hope, a message of light for a terribly dark world, a message of an abundant spiritual life where Jesus would live and grow and prosper. And the place of that prospering would be in our very lives. Now, I fear that too often people lose the impact of the Christmas message by focusing on trees and lights and gifts, where the power of the incarnation, oh yeah, another meat image, is the notion that the living Christ seeks to dwell within our lives so that we would see. So let me share with you a brief story. Back in the early 1950s, a young suburban boy saw a flyer that the circus was coming to town. He'd never been to the circus. And the flyer said the admission was $1. The boy went home to his father and asked for $1 to go to the circus. Well, that was a high price for that day. So his father said, if you complete all of your chores and you do them well, I will give you the $1. So the boy feverishly went to work. And by Saturday, he had completed all of his chores. His father gave him $1, and the boy jumped onto his bike and he headed to town. Now Saturday was the circus parade day. And the boy got there just in time. He wiggled his way out to the edge of the curb of the sidewalk and he sat down. The elephants came first. And then there came all of the wagons with the wild animals in them, and those wagons kept those animals safe. And then there were acrobats, and then finally the clowns came, and they were sort of the final group of the performers to come. And on the last wagon rode the ringmaster. The little boy by this time was so excited. He jumped to his feet. He ran out to that wagon. He unfolded the $1 that he had scrunched in his hand all day long. And he ran to the ringmaster and he gave him the $1 and he said, "Thanks, mister. That was the best circus I've ever been to." But the problem was what? He thought he'd seen the circus, but he'd only seen the parade. What had he missed? Christmas does us little good if the Word made flesh does not pitch its tents in our lives, or if the Word made flesh remains homeless in our homes. As the celebration of Christ's birth is here today, please consider how you might give a home to the homeless God. And by doing so, you will come away from this Christmas season with the clear and best gift ever given. Amen.